What up, everybody? What up, my Cowboys family? How are you, buddy? It's been a long time. I am Ari Temkin, and this is my YouTube page, and I've decided to start streaming live once again through YouTube. So thank you to my Cowboys family, and thank you to everybody else who's joining the show today. The two viewers we currently have, you guys are the best, the two of you. And number one, hit that subscribe button on my YouTube page and help me grow my audience. And number two, who are you putting more blame on for the Cowboys' 28-24 loss to the Minnesota Vikings? You putting more blame on the Cowboys defense, putting more blame on the play calling? If you were able to join us last night on the Dallas Cowboys postgame show, the majority of the blame was assigned to the play calling. And I think when you look at the system in place for the Cowboys and how committed they still are to running the football, and even if it's to the detriment of the offense, this team is committed to continually running the football despite maybe not the best situations in order to run said football. So asking you your thoughts. Again, do you blame the defense? Do you blame the play calling? One of the biggest things going into this season for the Cowboys to watch for was how were they going to be schematically. We knew that Scott Linehan was fired. We knew that Kellen Moore was going to be in. We knew that Jason Garrett was still presiding over the whole thing. So we all wondered just how different it would be. And we heard throughout the offseason and into training camp, and we saw that it was different, and there were a lot of different things that they were doing. And we held out hope that this would finally be the time in which the Cowboys would finally join the modern era of offensive football. They would not just be so downhill power running, and they would instead placate the schemes to fit the skill set of their players. And we even saw this early on in the season, and we thought that they had turned a corner. But once it seemed like Zeke Elliott was back up to speed, once it seemed like Zeke Elliott, after his holdout, was ready to go full bore, the Cowboys were still committed and remained committed to their ground game, much to the detriment of their offense as a whole. Last night is the perfect example of this. It's not any one game or any one situation, but just a stubbornly stupid, consistent sticking with the running game, regardless of if it's working or not. It's stubborn. It's not working. And it's all blame on this guy. Because I know Kellen Moore's calling the plays. I understand that. And there is blame for him. But ultimately, when we have the same issues of a team that's not really exactly scheming to its opponent or scheming to its situation, but rather calling the plays that they would call regardless and hoping that they can out-execute teams, that's been a consistency of this guy's tenure as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Period. It's the same thing we saw with Linehan. He was the scapegoat, but it's the same fundamental premise of a guy that's unwilling to adjust. And I think that was the biggest question mark coming into this season, was here's a guy as a coach that's never adjusted. He's never adjusted. He's always been the same, especially in this last 5 years. Downhill power running, spent a lot of money up front on the offensive side of the ball, and hopefully cobbled together a good defense. And in previous years, it's probably been the better strategy. This year, though, they have a credible passing offense. They have chained back and held back an extremely credible offense that's on the precipice of being extremely explosive. So how can you be optimistic about anything this season for this team when we've seen the offensive firepower and potential of this passing offense, but at the same time, we only see a team that's committed to sabotaging itself in the passing game because they have to be a power-running football team? That's the difficult thing for me right now, as I sit here today. The ceiling of this Cowboys football team is fairly low, given again that we know when the push comes to shove, this is a team that's going to run itself into a wall. It just did that last night. The Cowboys in the final 2 drives of this football game ran the ball 7 times for 3 yards. Meanwhile, Dak Prescott was 8 of 14 for 113 yards. That's an average of 14 yards of completion. And yet they ran into a wall 7 times for 3 yards. 5 of those 7 runs went for 1 yard or less. So the passing offense was working, and yet they went away from it so they could continue to establish their power running identity. The identity is the issue here. This team has an identity crisis. The identity of this football team needs to be based on what the defense is doing to them. If the defense is bailing out to stop the run, then stop running the football. Last night's game was maddening because we see an offense that is rolling. We see a high-powered offense. They are one of the top offenses in the National Football League, and the only thing getting in their way is them. My Cowboys family says, what's up, Ari? And we're back to where we were last season before Cooper. Remember the discussion we had? Shake my head. Head coaching. Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, last year, the discussion before Cooper was about a pedestrian passing offense. So it wasn't, we hadn't even seen the potential of Dak Prescott. Remember, there were as many questions about Dak Prescott as there were about the play calling. We didn't know about Dak. We didn't know that he was going to be the quarterback that he's become this year. Dak Prescott has proven to be a top 10 quarterback this season. Right now, statistically, he's top 5. So the fact that we've seen that now, and we've seen how explosive this offense can be, and yet the only thing that's getting in the way of this offense being as explosive as it can be is the offense itself and the play calling. It's maddening. Last night's loss should have never happened. This team stole defeat from the jaws of victory. It was unlike anything I've ever seen before. This offense is rolling, and also like, whoa. And the idea, as they tried to peddle the BS to us after the game, that they were just trying to save, they were trying to make sure they didn't score too quickly. Well, then how come they weren't running clock? They were snapping the football in that stretch with 5, 6, 7 seconds left of the play clock. What are you doing? My Cowboys family says Garrett admitted that he's involved with play calling, even if he tried to place blame on Kellen Moore and Tavon Austin. No, right, he is. And again, this is sort of the same kind of thing that we've really been talking about all year, and we've been talking about all last year. We've been talking about it for quite some time. It's not a Scott Linehan problem. It's not a Kellen Moore problem. It's a fundamental identity crisis. This team, under Jason Garrett in recent history, has been a power downhill running football team. And you know what? In years past, it makes sense. It's antithetical to how you score points and have a modern offense, but it at least made sense while there's still question marks about Dak Prescott. But we see Dak Prescott balling out, and we see the offense and play calling continually get in the way of Dak Prescott's balling out. And this isn't about never run the football or this or that. What this is about is being more efficient. It's not running into defensive fronts that are waiting for you to run, so that you're consistently in second and long and third and long type situations. Dak Prescott was phenomenal yesterday on third and longs, but the problem was he was consistently in them. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you wouldn't mind. My Cowboys family, what up, buddy? How are you? Good to talk to you again. Last 10 years, who's the only consistent outside of LP, right? And this sort of game feels like one of those games that when Jason Garrett is eventually fired after this season, we'll look back and say, this is where Jason Garrett nailed his coffin shut. This is the type of game where he did it. Because of an unwillingness to deviate from the idea that they are a downhill running identity. That's it. That's the maddening part about the loss. The maddening part about the loss is they were in position to win that game. They should have won that game. And I get blaming the defense, and that's why I put, do you put the blame on the play calling? Do you put the play calling, the blame on the defense? I understand blending the defense. Defense wasn't good, but this is sort of the issue of the conundrum of modern NFL football, and this is why all offseason. It's not about 100% of the time throwing the football. It's not about 100% of the time throwing the football on first down. It's about understanding what a defense is trying to do to you and calling plays against that. And sure, Kellen Moore shares some of the blame for this, without a doubt. But a lot of the blame of any hope that we could have. Can the Cowboys still make the playoffs? Sure. They probably still should win the division because it's a division that they've absolutely dominated, and hopefully they'll continue to do so. But what's the ceiling on a football team who, as we've seen, when they've played their toughest opponents in the biggest moments of adversity, this team defaults to a downhill, power-running football team. That's why it's hard to be optimistic about the future of this franchise. All right, make sure to hit that subscribe button here on the page. I'll be doing a lot more live streams throughout the week, and of course videos as well right here on YouTube on my @RE Sports page. But for now, I am out.